Tell me, what brought you to DC Wednesday?
Well, I mean, it's no secret, and I'm not changing it now. I've always been a Trump fan. I've been a fan of his policies, and I wish we had a governor like Trump here in New York State. So I was actually at the inauguration with my daughter 4 years ago, and I thought it was just going to be the last time to be able to go down and see him in his capacity as president. I never thought for once that the election results were going to be overturned. I never thought for once that the election results were going to be overturned. I didn't go down there for that purpose. I went down there because I thought it was going to be the last opportunity to set eyes on the 45th president.
And what did you think of his speech when you were watching?
Well, just to put things in perspective, I thought President Trump was ill prepared, unlike I've actually heard him in any rally before. I thought he rambled on. And to be honest with you, there were a number of speakers before. I actually left before his speech even finished. The audio was so bad. I didn't want to get in the middle of the crowd. It was a massive crowd. There were 100,000 people there. There was never a shred of violence. And when those people left that particular area, there wasn't even a single piece of trash that I saw on the ground. So the part I was at was extremely peaceful. But in all honesty, I left probably 15 or 20 minutes before he wrapped up.
So you left before Trump started speaking or right when he started?
I left 15 or 20 minutes before he finished speaking. But it was hard to hear him from where I was. I was on the perimeter. I didn't want to get involved in the crowd. And for all those people, yes, I was gone less than 24 hours. And yes, I did have a rapid COVID test. There's so many people that absolutely hate President Trump. And it's been an amazing, experience the past few days when they find out you're at the rally. They think you're supporting riots. Well, I don't think Trump has supported riots at all. I think it's been quite the opposite. I think he's been the only one to come out and say that we shouldn't be rioting. And, we saw what went on in Portland. We saw what went on in Seattle, and Trump was the only one that came out against those. So he did excite people, but I'll tell you this, it wasn't Trump that got the people down to the Capitol building. Hours before President Trump spoke at the rally, there was a gentleman in the crowd with a bullhorn going through the crowd on the bullhorn saying, we are going to the Capitol building after this, and we're going to penetrate the Capitol building. That's a fact. And nobody stopped him. Nobody questioned him. People were getting in line, and they didn't beef up security down at the Capitol building. So it was a total failure of security from the Capitol Police perspective, in my opinion.
When you heard that message over the bullhorn, what were your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts were, and I'll be honest, even though I've been a Trump supporter, nobody supports violence. I think anybody that penetrated the Capitol building should be locked up immediately, just like they should have been in Portland, Seattle, New York City when they were robbing Targets and things like that. I was shocked that, first of all, that nobody was questioning him. There weren't a lot of police. This is a huge protest, significant, over 100,000 people. And there weren't a lot of police, and nobody questioned him. And I'll tell you, I don't know if they identify as Trump supporters, if they truly are. I can't tell you that. But what I can tell you is that there were people there looking for trouble. There were people there that were carrying knives. There were people there that had backpacks. So that was one of the other reasons that I wanted to get out of town. We did the same thing during the inauguration. As soon as the inauguration wrapped up, my daughter and I got out of the city.
Was your daughter with you this time too?
No, I didn't take her. School and this whole COVID thing has certainly, different restrictions. Now, she probably would have been had not COVID been in place. There were a lot of kids there.
Speaking of COVID, you've mentioned a few times of how many people were there. We've all seen those videos. A lot of people were not wearing masks.
Yeah.
Did you feel comfortable being there during this time of the pandemic?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up. That's exactly why I was outside the perimeter. There was plenty of space if you wanted to get away from the crowd and you didn't have a viewing area. And that's why I stayed out there, honestly. And that's why the audio was so bad. So I finally left. I got cold and left. But I don't know. I know I had a COVID test and it came back negative, but that crossed my mind. And that's why I stayed on the perimeter of the event. Yeah, absolutely.
Did you wear a mask as well?
I wore a mask when you couldn't social distance, but where I was, and I can't think of the boulevard. I want to say it's in the 20s, but I can't tell you. It runs perpendicular to Pennsylvania Avenue. It was really a thoroughfare where people were making their way from the Foggy Bottom side of town, and you could get away from people. It was not like being in the middle of the crowd where it started at the Washington Monument and went all the way to the Ellipse, I think it's called, the White House area, which is the south lawn of the White House. So I avoided that area, I can tell you that.
And we've heard now that a police officer did lose his life during some of the heated moments of that event. What are your thoughts for that person and their family?
Well, I got to tell you, again, the Republican Party doesn't stand for rioting. It's been well announced, right? Where were the Democrats in Portland? Where were they in Seattle? In Portland, we saw graphic images of cops night after night being pelted with bricks. Nobody said anything, not even Joe Biden, in all honesty, when he was running for president. So I'm happy to see that now they're against violence. It's never tolerated. It should be never tolerated. And I can tell you this, in the area of the rally, the 100,000 people, there was zero violence. And like I mentioned, there were very few cops. So no violence is ever acceptable, ever. I mean, it's never tolerated. It's interesting, though, to me, how people call you out on social media. I actually was on my way to the gym the other day, and an individual knew that I was at this rally, and the language and the threats to me from somebody who I would think classifies Trump as a bully. It's just mind-boggling to me. But no, violence is never acceptable, ever, under any circumstances. And I think we've done a poor job in a lot of major cities the past year it cleaning it up and protecting the people of the village. One of the things I said this summer when Rochester was looting and they tried to start businesses on fire in downtown Rochester, I made it very clear that'll never happen in Bath while I'm mayor. That'll never happen in Bath. We would never tolerate it. And one other point of clarification too. To my knowledge, and I left a little bit before President Trump was done, so I honestly couldn't hear much of his speech, but I don't believe he ever said go to the Capitol building and break windows and penetrate the Capitol building. And I can tell you this because when Donald Trump Jr. spoke, I could hear, because there was a little bit less of a crowd. He made it very clear that the Republican Party does not stand for rioting and looting and setting things on fire and tearing down statues. So for the media to portray that message came out of this, I think is a false narrative from what I heard.
So President Trump did say, let's march to the Capitol. He did say that.
Right.
I've watched that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but did that incite rioting? We had Maxine Waters saying, take the fight to the street, right? So I don't think that incited rioting. Like I said, before anybody spoke, the gentleman with the bullhorn made it very clear that they were going to try to break into the Capitol building. It was an epic failure of the Capitol Police. In fact, the director resigned the very next day. But it's not right. Listen, Ariel, it's rioting, protesting, looting, tearing down statues, setting things on fire. It's not right, and people should face maximum jail time.
You mentioned social media, that you've been called out in public because of because people knew you went to this rally. You even had a post on your Facebook and said, if you can't stand for something, you'll
fall for anything.
Fall for anything.
Yeah, that's a line of a song, I think by oh gosh, I've seen him several times, Aaron Tippin. Yeah, and if you read the whole thing, you probably don't, because there hasn't, the updated portion was cut off. Yeah, so if you can read the whole update, I think as long as we have close elections, there's always going to be doubt, right? Again, I never thought he won the election. I never thought he was going to overturn any election. That certainly wasn't my intention of going to the political rally in DC. It was my thought that it was going to be the last opportunity that I got to see the 45th president. And I don't care who it is, because I'm a Republican and a Trump supporter. I gave Barack Obama the credit, the respect that the office deserves. Terrible policies drove manufacturing jobs to China. So you can disagree with policy, but you respect the office. I've
Yeah.
always been a presidential buff. I didn't care who it was. It was Jimmy Carter when I was in elementary, right? I think the glory and the grandeur of the president's position to anybody is amazing. And to be able to see a motorcade for my daughter, 4 years ago when she was 9, to see the presidential motorcade is just, it's a spectacle to see for anybody, and regardless of who the president is.
Let's just circle back. I have just, one or two more questions, then I'll let you go. I know you're busy. I have this screen grab of this comment you made on your on Facebook, and I believe it's been taken down. Do you, or was it not? This was sent to me, and I went on your Facebook, and I didn't see it myself. I have
Okay.
it right here. This one. Did you take it down for any reason?
The update?
Yeah, it just says you can, you can say anything. Update. There were well over 100,000 peaceful,
Yeah.
or sorry, 100K peaceful protesters. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Is that still on your Facebook?
Probably not. I didn't even know if I was going to do this interview again, because I just think it adds unnecessary ruffling of feathers. Just like I was almost attacked going into the gym, from a party that preaches tolerance. I just don't get it. But it was important to put the update on there. It was on there. And I said, it's just creating too much spectacle for people, and took it down. But no, I came on here today because I don't have anything to hide. I organized Trump rallies this summer. And if you recall, the largest political rally ever held in upstate New York took place in Painted Post this fall. That 3,000 cars. So there's nothing to hide. I'm not a coward. I believe in principle. I don't operate like President Trump does. I think he had, in all honesty, he had an opportunity to be one of the best presidents of all time. I think his communications and his method and the way he went about it was horrible. It was horrendous. And what you saw was when people tried to correct it, tried to refine him, they were all fired or they quit because he wasn't going to happen. And it is what it is. That's why he's not the president now. So there's nothing, I'm not ashamed of anything. This is what I wish. I wish more people would get involved in the political process, in all honesty. In a lot of these small towns in particular, we have people running these small towns across the country that have little to no passion. They're there because they needed to fill a void. And it's really a tragedy. We got to start young with our kids. And that's what I've done. So I've always respected the office. It's just when it comes to principle, I'm a conservative, and I don't hide it.
Yeah. I mean, you got to stay true to what you believe in, right?
That's exactly right.
I think I've asked you most of my questions, unless there's anything that I didn't ask that you'd like to share.
I would say this, and it certainly has zero to do with any social media, but I would say this: given COVID, given the restrictions, because you have to come back and you take a quick rapid test, would I do it again? That's the question. And I'm not sure I would. Like I said, I left before the president even got done with his remarks. Would I do it again? I don't know. I think under these circumstances, I probably would not. And had I known what the president was going to say, honestly, I probably wouldn't have wasted my time. I thought it was going to be a message of hope, a message of the future, because there's a huge opportunity. And regardless of what either political party wants to admit, it's a divided country. It's not going to go away. There were 75,000 or 75 million people that voted for Trump. They're not going to go away. And in no way do they probably feel he incited this. I think he fueled the flame. I'll tell you where he really did a poor job. On the way back, listening to Fox News and trying to make a statement to get the people out of the Capitol building. It was the weakest statement I've ever heard from a sitting president, regardless of political party. So I'm very disappointed in the way it all ended. I'm very disappointed in the way it went down, as I think most Americans are. But sadly, it was. I don't know what the numbers were. I didn't really see a lot of footage from the Capitol because I was in transport. But I would say it was hundreds. Was it hundreds that actually penetrated the Capitol? It wasn't thousands that got into it, right? I don't know.
I actually don't know the exact number.
Yeah.
So I'm
So
not-
I would say out of the scheme of things with 100,000 people there, it was just amazing to be with like-minded people. And you know what you don't see, you didn't see the Chinese immigrants, you know, holding their banners, who Trump has supported 100%. They were very sad that he wasn't going to be the president anymore, and they're really worried. So there's a lot of layers to this whole event, and again, I was part of one layer. I don't think it ended the way it should have ended, and you know, I don't have any say of that. I can control what Mike Sweet says, and that's about it.
I actually do now have a couple follow-up questions. What did you think of when you heard Trump's him being banned from Twitter and other social medias?
Well, I have a problem with that regardless of who it is. Twitter is not a news organization, it's a platform. Therefore, it shouldn't be regulated in sense of censoring. I have a big problem with that. I don't think Twitter and Facebook have the ability to censor anything. If they do, then they have to change what they're recognized as in the communication process. So I have a problem with that. But again, it's like anything else. If people don't like it, they can leave Facebook or they can leave Twitter, right? I just don't think it's right to ban and censor anybody. They've put disclaimers on things for months now, ever since the process of the election started. So I can't tell you that I support that at all, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. And then, do you plan on going to the inauguration?
I won't go there. Well, there's no inauguration. So there's no inauguration. It's not going to be an inauguration like it has been in the past. I think there's some like little parade through the streets of town with the presidential motorcade, and then a very small group that's going to congregate at the Capitol. From what I've heard, no, I would have, if Trump would have won, I would have tried to go again. Obviously, again, I'm just a Republican, have different views. I don't wish Joe Biden ill, but I really am concerned about the economy and the future of the economy here in this country, because as we know, living here in upstate New York, taxes and regulations drive businesses away. That is a fact. And so if they implement some of the regulations that were cut from President Trump, if they start taxing corporations that reinvest in people, the jobs are going to go away.